Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new Fallout 76 news video, and it is patch day. Bethesda are hard at work updating Fallout 76 as we speak, or at least as I speak now, anyway. And we have a whole set of patch notes to dive into, so without too much further ado, let's crack on, shall we? Okay, yeah, so patch notes for today's update. So this is a relatively small scale update. It's sort of a in-between kind of a vibe, really, rather than being a major content update. They did announce this last week, and we covered it, of course, last Thursday. So the big overall view of this thing is that they're putting a whole load of new stuff into the game for the Atomic Shop in coming weeks, and they are adding a whole load of bug fixes. So, yeah. Simple, really, in its execution. Obviously, it will probably be good for server health generally as well, which is always a good thing. And the next major content update is due in June, the start of June, I would imagine. So, yeah, looking forward to that one. But for today, let's have a look at what we've got. Okay, so Fallout 76 update notes, April 12th. Our latest update for Fallout 76 brings a variety of new bug fixes to the game. Read on to catch the details. So, update version there, as per usual, and the patch sizes, we're looking at the smallest is 1.6 gigabytes on PC Bethesda net, ranging up to significantly larger everywhere else, actually, from looking at that. At 9.2 is the largest one on PlayStation. So, this basically is going to go over the bug fixes, so we'll charge on through these, and yeah, beyond that, it's just Atomic Shop stuff. So, art change. First up, weapons. The Silver Shroud Tesla rifle paint now correctly applies to the charging shotgun barrel mod. Cool. A few things for camps and workshops. Fixed an issue in which cheaters could place NPCs in the game world. There's an exploit there. NPCs how? That sounds weird, but yeah, we know from things Bethesda have said in the past that piling loads of extra NPCs in the game impacts its performance, so outside of their controlled, planned doing of these things, then probably not a good thing. Good to see that fixed. Lights. The diner wall light now correctly plays a sound effect when toggling on and off. Wires can now be attached to the power connector on the Firewatch tower. Yeah, I think I recall spotting that power connector somewhere on the tower, vaguely, from my build way back when. And yeah, you couldn't actually connect to it, so that's good. Interesting that it was always intended to work that way. That'll make wiring up a darn sight easier than it was when I did it. The backwards bungalow, the red one, now has an accompanying door, which can be found in the doors tab. Players can now correctly place blueprints that contain the Charleston fire stations. That's one of the recent prefabs. Apparently you couldn't blueprint it. Now you can. Wonderful. Wall decor items like pennants, frames, posters, signs, etc., etc., etc. now no longer clip into Enclave camp walls. There's a couple of others, particularly when it comes to wallpapers, where that's still an issue, so I wonder if they've fixed any of that stuff behind the scenes, but yeah, nonetheless, that's one set of walls that you should have fewer issues with. Always good. Challenges. World. The requirements for the complete different daily quests world challenge have been reduced from 23 to 22, and it can now be correctly completed. So, not quite sure what the ins and outs of this one are, but I'm going to go ahead and guess that 23 was the total there, and that there's actually only 22 different daily quests in the game. So, thus, it couldn't be completed, because you had to complete one that didn't actually exist. So, that will be my guess, but I don't know. But either way, it works now, so that's cool. Combat change. There's a couple of other references to combat elsewhere in here as well. Melee VATS attacks while in third-person view no longer cause the player to encounter a black screen. That will be alarming, so yeah, definitely good. Enemy fixes. Generally addressed instances where enemies could sometimes become frozen and unresponsive. There's a few occasions that can certainly happen, so the one that springs to mind for me would be at Palace of the Winding Path. There's one particular Scorched in there that freezes most of the time. And I'm sure there are other examples as well that I'm less aware of, so any reduction in that is always welcome and a good thing. The wolves. They fixed an issue that could prevent wolves and other dog-type enemies from attacking the player. Can't say I noticed any problems with that, but okay, fine. Wish they'd fixed the weird noises the wolves make, but, you know, guessing that's actually not a bug. Events and quests. Public events. Using the World Activity Tracker to fast travel to a public event that the player is already participating in no longer causes them to be removed from that event. Mostly useful if you end up getting stuck or something during a public event, I imagine, but being able to just kind of hop straight back into it without being removed from the event is definitely a good thing. Hopefully that will also affect if you die towards the end of an event, because that's caused me on occasion to lose out on event rewards because of the timing of my death, which was very, very annoying when it happened. Hopefully that will also solve that issue, whether intentionally or otherwise, but in either case, it's definitely a good thing. Public events. Players can now correctly join an active public event when walking into the event location. I'm guessing that was an intermittent issue, because I certainly recall it working when I walked in. Load bearing. The quest tracker no longer persists on screen after completing load bearing. Always good. That event's had so many issues over the last however long. Good to see it getting smoothed out, especially as there's more reason to do public events than ever now. So definitely good to see that. Fallout Worlds. Relaxed building restrictions. Setting the snapping toggle to collide now correctly allows placement of camp objects without encountering the intersecting object errors. So that setting is part of the whole system they added in the last update, Invaders from Beyond, to allow you to mess around with the collision things and get even more wacky with the stuff you're building, which is quite a cool little addition. It really opens up the flexibility of it. But if it wasn't working properly, yeah, fixing that is definitely good. So, items. An armor fix. Fix an issue that caused the Thorn Armor's bleed effect to stack unintentionally. To help account for this change, the bleed effect now deals 5 times its previous damage. So, my interpretation of this, and it's a little unclear here, would be that the stacking effect was also affecting how long the bleed lasted for. That would be my guess, anyway, as well as doing the extra damage. And it wasn't the damage itself that they were concerned by, it was the fact it was lasting longer than it should do. So this will obviously fix that effect whilst not actually reducing the damage any more than it was supposed to be reduced. So basically the damage will be the same, but it'll happen quicker, I guess, rather than over a longer period of time. So that's probably, on balance, a buff, which is quite cool. Fixed a couple of exploits here. Adjust an exploit that could cause a weapon to deal more damage than intended under certain circumstances. Good. Adjust an exploit in which players could obtain certain magazines repeatedly from the same location. I'm guessing this is a case of turning up and farming it over and over on the same occasion, as opposed to, you know, coming back in a couple of days and it's respawned and it's there. So that's probably a good thing as well. Headwear change. The Captain Cosmos helmet, that goldfish bowl looking thing, now correctly prevents damage and disease from airborne hazards. Nice. Melee weapons. VATS attacks using automatic melee weapons like the Ripper now correctly progress the critical hit meter. So those are still not that great in general, but the fact you can actually have crits working properly if you do want to use that weapon is definitely going to make it slightly more viable. Slightly more viable with the right build if you go for a crit heavy build. So that's a good thing. It's probably a buff overall. Ranged weapons. Missile launchers now correctly take damage from use, and they are no longer unbreakable. Okay, something to be aware of if you're using missile launchers. Ranged weapons. The Alien Blaster and Disintegrator projectiles now correctly impact objects and terrain. So apparently they were going through solid objects before. Certainly make it a little unreasonably OP and out of balance and compared to everything else. Not that it would make aiming very easy if you can't see what you're aiming at, but for VATS, I suppose, it's particularly impactful. There we go. Nice to know that that's functioning as intended and expected, and that the laws of physics have been reapplied to the alien weapons, such as these things work in Fallout anyway. So this is a really weird one. It's a localization change. Animation. Addressed an issue that could cause water sources to appear to stop flowing when playing Fallout 76 in a language other than English. If this isn't a testament to just how weird game development gets sometimes, I don't know what is. Why would a language change affect the movement of water in the game? If you were talking about a game where, like, I've been playing Ghostwire Tokyo recently on stream, you should check it out, and the rainfall in that is actually text. So if it affected that kind of localization, which I rather doubt it would in that game, but anyway, then I could kind of see it. But this is really weird. That's, yeah, I think a testament to just how weird and convoluted and involved the background stuff is in the game and the weird interactions that can happen. And explains why we get some bugs that are really weird and hard for Bethesda to fix as well. Or highlights an example of an occasion when that could be the case. Because, yeah, how do you go from water stops flowing to it's your language settings? Christ only knows. NPCs. Allies no longer continue to appear as though they have a weapon drawn after leaving combat. So, what, they're walking around doing finger guns? I'm guessing. But either way, definitely good. Here's always a popular one, or at least with me anyway, and I imagine most other people. A couple of performance and stability improvements. Fixed a client crash that could occur when using VATS melee attacks in third-person view, so I suspect that links back to that black screen issue before. And fixed a client crash that could occur when rapidly scrapping and storing objects in a camp that had reached maximum build budget. So particularly with the latest update, Invaders from Beyond, they changed things so that if you manage to exceed the camp budget, the game will stop you in your tracks and make you go back and fix that, reduce the budget in your camp, and you won't be able to switch camps, you won't be able to fast travel, things like that until you go and do it, other than back to your camp. So I'm guessing that's really what highlighted this, but yeah, rapidly scrapping stuff. Having the game crash when you're doing that, especially if you build a lot like I do, would be very, very annoying. Fortunately, I haven't run into this myself. I guess I obviously scrap things just slow enough. But there we go. Definitely a good fix. Last few here, sound. They've added a sound effect to the keyring, so when you open and close it, it will now play a sound effect in the Pip-Boy. Grenades. Excess sound effects no longer play when drawing a weapon with certain types of grenades equipped. Okay. Sirens. Toggling a siren on and off repeatedly no longer causes its sound effects to stack. I imagine that would be very annoying if somebody showed up and did that in your camp. So, basically on the brink of griefing at that point, or just annoying other players, so definitely a good thing. And some UI fixes, which are always welcome as well. The nearby corpses, so area looting thing. Lengthy enemy names are now spaced and sized more appropriately in the nearby corpses menu. I guess that makes it a bit easy to tell what you're looting at the time. So a couple of photo mode changes. Dr. Zorbo themed poses are once again available for use in photo mode for players who earned them during Season 7. So that would be the last season's photo mode poses. Don't know why they were removed. I'm guessing that was mentioned somewhere, probably in the depths of the Discord, and I missed it. But, yep, those are now reactivated for whatever reason, clearly working properly. And adjusted photo mode pose list, so the pose titles and animations are back in sync. Wonderful, so I imagine those two are probably linked. So, last couple, scoreboard. On consoles, the player's current atom balance now updates immediately after purchasing ranks via the rank up to here button on the scoreboard. Cool, so it'll actually tell you correctly how many atoms you've got after you rank up using atoms. And they fixed an issue that caused the rank up to here button to remain greyed out after purchasing atoms. So, not updating correctly, now it should. Cool. And using defaults button in the display options menu now correctly reverts the display settings to their default values if you've accidentally messed it up. So there we go. So yeah, fairly simple set of changes, nothing spectacularly huge, just a load of bug fixes dropped in and likely some updates to, you know, improve the server maintenance and running and so on and so forth as well, because I don't know about you guys, but I found it a little bit wobbly here and there over the last couple of weeks, so that's definitely welcome too. And not listed on here because it's not really a bug fix and it's kind of a behind-the-scenes thing that happens every so often anyway. I've obviously added extra items to the Atomic Shop as well. Some of those things have been data mined already and floating around on social media, so Twitter, and they're presumably appearing on Reddit as well. If you're interested in diving into the data mines to see what's coming up, you can certainly explore that one. But I think this is perhaps not the best place to do that, just in case people want to avoid it. So, yeah, just a short list of changes, some cool stuff. Definitely happy to have that. Really pleased to be whipping through this nice and quick today, so always welcome to see that. Not quite sure when the actual update will sort of be fully live and when the game will come back up again. I'd imagine probably by the time I get this video up. It doesn't look like a patch that would take them particularly long to deploy compared to some of the others. Yeah. Definitely a good one. So, hope you guys found this useful and informative. If you did, please do consider dropping subs and likes. I very much appreciate it. Down below the video, you can find social media links, merch store, and channel memberships if you're interested in supporting the channel in that way. I very, very much appreciate it. And if you get a chance to join us for live streams as well, as I said, we are playing Fallout 76 and Ghostwire Tokyo at the minute, and we've got loads of other cool stuff lined up for the rest of the year, which should be cool too, so I'd love to see you there. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.